Hello everybody, I'm so excited to be here today. I am Kathleen Hawkins, your proud president and founder of WOAMTEC. We have some big things happening in WOAMTEC, and I can tell you I am in love with each and every one of you, but in love with this segment today. We're going to celebrate Valentine's Day in the month of February in style and share with you three amazing people that can help you fall in love with others, prosper your business, prosper your relationships, fall in love with your beauty and your skin, and fall in love with America all over again. So thank you for tuning in live with us today. But before we begin, I just wanted to share with you a couple of exciting updates and announcements. We are continuing to be on the grow in Texas. We've got amazing directors out there doing amazing things. We have a new Fabulous 50s director that just reached her goal, and she had 94 people at her WOAMTEC launch. So congratulations, Tanya Lavoie. And I just interviewed your mom about starting a chapter in San Diego, California. So thanks for the referral. I look forward to continuing to build our vision, to empower women, to strengthen communities, and to build businesses across America. It is because of each and every one of you coming together to not only lead chapters, but as members to lead one another, to lift each other up, to mastermind, to strengthen relationships, and to support creating a stronger community. And for that, I thank you with all of my heart and all of my soul, and I continue to wonder in amazement and look forward to what's going to happen in 2013. I do know one thing for sure. I know that in 2013, April 18th and 19th, we have our next Confident Woman Conference, and this conference is actually going to be how to fireproof your business. So it's the WOAMTEC Fireproof Your Business Conference, and we have three amazing speakers. I am so excited. You're going to see videos released on them in the next few days, so you'll get a sneak peek at what they're all about. We have three amazing speakers. We've already secured over a dozen vendors for the trade show and the conference on the main stage conference day, which is the 18th of April. And then on the 19th, we have 8 amazing breakout session speakers where you'll be able to have a more intimate relationship and communication with people, with leaders across America, business owners across America that can help you build and empower and strengthen your business. Each segment of the breakout session is 45 minutes in length, and I know we already have someone talking about social media and website development. We have a QuickBooks Pro advisor. We have someone from the entrepreneurship from Seminole State College that's going to talk about finding the leader within and building your leadership skills, and just amazing things happening that day. So stay tuned. It'll be on WOAMTEC.com real soon, and I hope that you will mark your schedule now and book your flight now, schedule your reservation at one of our area hotels, and come down and join us so we can learn how to fireproof our business together. Now, before we talk about fireproofing your business, I think we need to take a moment and meet our first guest that's here today. This man is going to talk about fireproofing your marriage. You know, I don't know if you've seen that movie or read that book, but I have, and it's a stellar movie. Part of what gave us the idea of the conference theme, but it goes hand in hand with what this gentleman's going to share with us and teach us today. So please join me in welcoming Roy to the stage. So Roy, thank you so much for being on set with us today and for sharing, because in the month of February, you know, that's a month when people are talking about wanting to be in love or wanting to improve their love, right, or strengthen their relationships. So whether it's a relationship with someone on an intimate level or a relationship with someone on a personal level, I think that you can gain knowledge from this valuable worth of information and experience that he has. So tell everybody, Roy, a little bit about who you are and what you do in your business.
Well, I am a relationship coach, which is a little bit of an odd title, but I work with people who want to improve their love lives, who either are single and are not having the partner that they would love in their life, or they're experiencing some sort of recurring pattern where it starts and fizzles out, or there's some sort of pattern of it breaks up after a few months, stuff like that. So people that are single that want a better love life, and people that are in a relationship that want to improve their communication, their intimacy, conflict resolution, communication problems. So anytime there's a problem with someone's interpersonal and intimate relationship life, that's what I do.
Okay, I love it. I love it. And you work with all sorts of different types of people. It's
Yes.
not just one. So it could be married couples. It could be someone looking for love.
Right.
Someone that's been divorced or widowed.
Right.
You know, right? You work with a lot of different types of people all across America. So it's not only just here in Central Florida either.
Well, and Skype and that kind of thing. I've talked just recently Australia yesterday and England the day before. So there are people all over that are looking for, you know, a way to have a more conscious, fulfilling love life. And you're right. I mean, I deal with people men or women. I deal, frankly, whether you're gay or straight, it doesn't matter. But people that want a better love life, single, married, divorced, divorce recovery. A lot of people who are in their late 30s, 40s that are having to get back in the dating world are terrified of that. They don't really know, like, haven't done this in 20 years. So a lot of people looking for just a little bit of self-confidence and comfortability and those kind of things. So, yeah.
I think that's important, and I personally know offhand, I know of 2 people that have gone through your program, and what's appealing to me is the demographics were so different. You know, one was somebody that was a little bit younger that was habitually in bad relationships, one right after another, and not able to find stability in her life, and then another person that I know of had recently lost their husband, and both of them raved about the experience that they had with you, which is why you are back on the show, because you've been here as a guest before. So what I'd like to do, as we look at February, no matter who you are that's out there, as we look at February, I'd like to just have Roy share with us some steps. Like, are there any steps that you would encourage or tips that you can give us on how to create more intimate relationships?
Right. And the reason why people can work with me or be in a workshop and be in such different places and get something out of it is because there are some basic core things that you can do in your love life that doesn't matter whether you're 25 and looking for a relationship or 55 and recovering from a lost relationship or a divorce or being a widow. So I guess what I would share today are what I call 4 pillars of intimacy. And actually you could call them almost like 4 pillars of integrity. And I should start by setting it up a little bit, because the most valuable thing that you have in your life, that I have in my life, is our sense of aliveness. It's what we can totally control, and without it, we can lose motivation for our businesses. Without that sense of aliveness, it affects our parenting, it affects our love lives. And so these 4 pillars are things that if we are committed to them in our lives, they give us a sense of wholeness, a sense of completeness, a sense of aliveness. It's kind of like if you imagine yourself as a hose. If you kink the hose, nothing flows. And so these things are things that open up your flow in your life to where you can connect with your partner in a deep way, or you can connect with your customers in a deep way, or your children, or your friends. Okay? So there are 4 pillars of, I call them intimacy because that's what I do. And they are emotional intelligence, healthy responsibility, impeccable agreements, or conscious communication. Okay, so we can just kind of talk about each one of those.
I was going to say, please do, because those are all fancy words, but I don't know how the heck to do anything about any of those things. So break them down for us.
Well, one of the best ways, I have a cheat sheet, by the way. One of the best ways to describe them is, with emotional intelligence, there are things that we are not feeling. So there are things that are unfelt. And in responsibility, there's things that are not owned. We're not owning responsibility. With agreements, it's things that are not being kept. And then with conscious communication, things not being said. So when we are not feeling our feelings, when we are not taking responsibility, not keeping our agreements, and we're not saying things that need to be said, then our hose gets all kinked up. Okay? So with emotional intelligence, now I'm speaking to probably the vast majority of women, right? And women are extremely, the feminine I should say, very emotional creatures. But that doesn't mean that we're very good at knowing what we feel and expressing our feelings fully to completion. So one of the skills in life and in intimacy is the ability to know what it is that you're feeling and to express it and move that energy through your body to completion. So one of the things people don't recognize is their body is like a big source of wisdom on emotional intelligence. So we get up in our heads sometimes and we always think about things. You know, we're trying to figure out why we might feel these things and we don't really know. But there are 5 primary feelings. There's a zillion kinds of feelings, but they all come in like 5 kinds. There's anger, scared, sad, joyful, and sexual feelings. Okay? Now, anger could be anything. I'm irritated, I'm annoyed, but that's still in the anger category. So what people don't sometimes recognize is their body knows what they feel often before you understand what you feel. So it's helpful sometimes to think about, if you want to know what you feel, to know what parts of your body you're experiencing. So what they found is that when you're angry, you often feel it in your neck, in your shoulders.
Imagine that, Jeff.
in your temple, in your jaw, and in your hands. Right? Because people say, you know, you're such a pain in the neck. Right? So you might find that if you're in a relationship or something's going on and you're feeling a lot of stuff up in here, that you might say, you know what, maybe I'm angry. Maybe I could just stop and say, you know, what am I not willing to feel in this? Because remember, most women were raised in a household where it was not okay to be angry, right? Big boys don't cry and little girls can't be mad. Be sweet and be nice and wear your pretty little bows and put a smile on your face. But women are not allowed to be raging. And sometimes women feel a lot of anger. So you'll store that in that part of your body. Now, sadness is all in your chest, in your throat, and behind your eyes. You say, I'm all choked up or I've got a broken heart. So a lot of times you might be in a relationship or in a conversation where you feel a lot of tension in your chest or pressure there. And that might give you a clue. Maybe I'm actually really sad right now. I'm grieving something right now. Now, fear is in the belly area, in the solar plexus. You know, like I played a lot of sports in my life, so you can get butterflies in your stomach. Okay, so that's an area when you feel knots or tension in your stomach, that it's a clue that you might be scared of something. Joy is a feeling that seems to be a rising energy through your whole body, like a tingling, like you want to explode, like you want to, that kind of thing. And sexual feelings are around your genitals and your hips and that part of your area. Most of us are familiar with those. So, yeah. Can we cut away from that?
No, it's live, Roy. It's live. Just run with it.
Right. So the important thing in a relationship is to know what you're feeling and to be able to speak it to your partner in what I call the unarguable or the inarguable truth. See, a lot of drama happens and arguments happen because we say things people can argue about. Right. So if I was to say something like, this setup in here, this is the greatest studio, in the world. Well, somebody could argue with that. But if I said that I really think the studio is wonderful, now you can't argue. Right. So inarguable things are thoughts you're having, sensations in your body, or feelings. So we get into arguments sometimes, we start blaming or criticizing or making these always and never statements instead of just saying, boy, when you came home later than you said you would, I felt, a lot of tension in my neck and shoulders. And my story is I'm really feeling angry. Now, your spouse can't say, no, you're not, right? But if you said, you're always late and you don't care about me and you don't love me, well, he can argue with that. Right? So this is one of the skills that I work with in emotional intelligence, is teaching people to speak what's not arguable, to stay in your experience of what you're thinking, what you're feeling, what you're sensing, or what you're wanting. And when you do that, a person can't argue with you, and then you're able to toss back and forth when they share what's happening for them, what they're thinking, what they're wanting, what they're feeling. And that way you're not getting into all these arguable things and creating a bunch of drama. Okay? Now, one little more skill there is one of my mentors, in fact, Dr. Gay Hendricks is the one that he came up with these things, is speaking what's called in one out breath. Okay. Right? So most every important conversation you could ever have, you can say in just one breath. But a lot of us get into these things where we talk forever and ever. So the conversation just needs to be said, honey, I'm having an affair and I want a divorce. Or something you're feeling in terms, I'm really sad about the way I saw you interact with that person. So the next time you feel you're in some sort of intimate relationship situation and you're having a conflict or you want to share an emotional, think about, can I say what's on my mind in just one breath and just pare it right down?
Why do you think that that's important, though? Like, is it because you're removing all the emotional feelings from it and you're just getting to the true feeling?
Well, it's not that you're removing emotions from it, because emotions is what we're trying to be able to be honest about. What it is you get out of the stories and all the reasoning and all the trying to explain why you might feel a certain way or why this person's doing it. So you get out of your head and you're just right down to what needs to be said right now. You're not doing a very good job and I have to let you go. And it's just like, boom, that's what needs to be said. And it's not to say that another part of the conversation might take place, but what I find is when I start talking a lot, like now, but when you're in a situation, you can start defending yourself, justifying, rationalizing, over-explaining, instead of really landing in your body and saying, this is what's true for me. This is what I'm really feeling right now. And it comes out real clean and real crisp, and a person can really understand it and really hear it. So, okay, so I heard that you are feeling this or you're wanting that. Okay?
I think that's wonderful. And, that is such an important step in creating that intimacy because, it's not always easy for men and women to communicate.
Right.
And I think that, like you said, if you go around these circles where you're sharing so many different stories, they stop listening. So by the time you get to that one statement that could be the most important thing to say, they've tuned out or shut down or went back into their
Right.
cave because they
Right.
needed to create that separation
Right.
of communication.
And let's just take that listening thing and dovetail into this next one.
Okay, absolutely.
Which we'll go to conscious communication, which are things that are not said. And part of that in conscious communication is the ability to really listen to someone and not just listen to what they're saying, but to listen for the desire in their words. Because a lot of times we're saying something and we're communicating to someone about something, and we're either forming our own thoughts in our heads about what we're going to say in response, how we're going to defend ourselves or tell them that they're wrong or just share our opinion. So we're either doing that or we're listening to what they're saying, but we're missing kind of what's behind their words. So I can be talking to a client and they could be telling me something about that happened with someone they're on a date with, or their husband did something with them. And they're going through the words, and I'm getting the words, but if I'm really there and listening, I'm able to say, what I'm hearing from you is, I think you're really scared right now. And they're like, yeah, it's it's almost, it helps them kind of land on it. Because I'm hearing what they're saying, but they're really afraid, or I think you're really maybe angry about this. So a person feels felt. They felt like you connected with them when you're listening for not just the words, but for the desire and the energy and the emotion behind it. Okay, now, so this conscious communication thing is all about what needs to be said that's not being said. Okay, so in relationships, it's all about revealing versus concealing.
Okay.
Okay, so there's a lot of people wrestle with this, but I'm of the kind of belief that in a relationship that there should be no secrets, that you should be able to reveal what you're thinking, what you're feeling. And so one of the rules is if you've thought something or had something happen 3 times, then it's time for me to tell you. So I was talking to a friend. It was so amazing the other night. He has a brand new baby, and it's 7 months. And at that stage, that's a very dangerous stage for a couple.
Right.
Because as a man, a lot of times, I don't know if you know this, but there's a huge percentage of men have affairs in the first year of their first baby's life.
Oh, I had no idea.
Right, like 70%. That's something, I don't know how they get these numbers, but that's a huge number. The reason is the man no longer is the center of attention, and then he begins to look. So my friend actually told his wife, because their baby's 7 months old, he said, I find myself hoping some women will hit on me, would flirt with me, because I just feel like I've disappeared from the family. And I was like, that was the greatest thing I've ever heard. He actually told her. And it didn't create drama. I mean, she understood that. And it created intimacy because now she knows, and she may not be able to change much because the baby dominates some time, but now he knows that she knows. And she knows that, and so they're together on that. So one of the things that can really kink your hose is when you're not saying things to a boss, to a child, to a partner. So that's one of the challenges.
I think that's important. And, I find myself often even parenting that when I, just because I said so, do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, how do you allow your children an opportunity to say things when you want to have the last word and you want them to shut up? How do you make sure that you allow them to communicate and get their feelings across, but when you're parenting?
Yeah, and sometimes you do want them to shut up.
Right.
And sometimes you're busy, and parents have to learn how to set boundaries, and there's times for this. So there's chances to say, kids, I can't do that now. This is not the time for that conversation. We'll do that later. But one of the things that in the area of emotional intelligence is not only are you feeling what you feel, but do you allow the people around you to feel completely what they feel and express it to their completion? So that's something for children, because sometimes we don't really want to hear our child's complete authenticity. Sometimes we suppress them. We don't want them to share if they're angry with us, or we don't have time to hear them being scared of something. And so we cut them off. And what happens is those little kids grow up to be adults like us who aren't able to actually say, I'm scared of something, or I'm really angry about something. It's very common for women that I deal with that when they're really angry, they cry. Because there's something that doesn't allow them to just be with their rage. So it turns into tears. Just like with men. Some men actually, when they're angry, they're actually really scared or really sad. But they've never been taught they can go there. Well, all they know is, I'm mad, but really underneath that. So there's layers.
Right.
So with your children, one of the greatest gifts you can give is set boundaries on what's permissible and what's not. But you want to invite them, tell me how you feel. So you made a decision. So you can't go, you got a bad grade, so you're not going to go to that party. But I want to hear how you feel about that. Tell me. I mean, you're not going to the party. But I want you to tell me how you feel. Tell me what's going on. Express it fully with me. I can handle that. And, there's been a lot of times where I've made decisions. I have an 18-year-old son. So I got some reins that I have to, keep him somehow in the corral.
Right, absolutely.
And he doesn't like it. But I want, tell me if you're angry with me. Tell me if you're really frustrated, or if you think something's not fair. I want you to be able to share what's on your mind. Because if we withhold, we withdraw.
Right. And you especially don't want an 18-year-old or a teenager withdrawing from you, because that's the most important time to communicate.
Right.
So whether you've got to rein in your husband or rein in your employee or rein in your child, it's important to remember that you set those boundaries and you communicate as well.
Right.
Now, do you have anything else, another tip that you wanted to share with us as we start to wrap up this segment today? I know.
Well, I can just say the one here, the impeccable agreements.
Mm-hmm.
So it's unfelt, unowned, unkept, or unsaid. The impeccable agreements. I mean, there's a lot of complicated advice out there for relationships. But if people actually did what they say they were going to do, when they said they would do it, there'd be so much peace. So what have you agreed to do that you're not doing? What agreements have you not kept?
And taking it one step further, what have you agreed to do that you shouldn't have agreed to do?
Right. We do. We sometimes want to be nice, and we overcommit, and then we don't really have any joy in our lives from doing it because we didn't want to do it in the first place.
Absolutely.
So really reviewing all those things. So, and by the way, if anybody wants this, I can email this to you. So.
Well, why don't you tell them how they can get in touch with you? What is your website and how do they find you? I know you're on the WOAMTEC group page and you're in WOAMTEC directory, but how do they find you?
Coachingwithroy.com is my website, and it's roy@coachingwithroy.com. And I'll send them this document. Anybody who wants a 30-minute free coaching session to talk about what's happening in their life, maybe one of these things that they're facing, I'll do that with any WOAMTEC person. 30 minutes, no charge, we'll just talk.
I think that's awesome. Yeah. I think that's fabulous. With WOAMTEC, it truly is all about relationship building and, getting past the superficial networking to the authentic connections. And that's what I love about everything that you've said, because it really is about how do you, I don't want to say fix yourself, but be real with yourself, with the way you communicate, with how you relate, with how people connect with you, with how you allow them to connect to you. I think all of those things are so true, and until you can deal with those internal struggles, it's going to be hard for you to have a cohesive relationship in any way, shape, or form, whether it's networking or doing business or with your children or with your husband. So thank you so much for sharing. Now, before you leave, you do have an event that's coming up soon.
Yes.
And then I heard you're going out to Texas sometime soon, so that's pretty exciting.
We're planning that. Yeah, I mean, I guess Texas everything's big in Texas, so
you might as well go there and visit our chapters.
That's right. I'm doing a workshop for single women only this coming Saturday morning, and it's how to attract genuine love. And it's going to be a day-long workshop where we look at some of our baggage, some of the things that we might need to change about ourselves, some of the ways that our energy might be stuck that keeps us attracting the wrong kinds of relationships. So it's all about self-growth and self-development, and because the more you live by these, the more you're flowing, then the better relationship you attract. So when you're all kinked up and you're not keeping your agreements and you're not feeling your feelings and you're not saying things, you attract a partner who's doing the same thing. And now you got some drama.
Right.
Okay, so it's all about the healthier you are, the healthier person you attract.
I think that's awesome. Well, thank you so
Yeah.
very much for
You're
being
welcome.
here today and for being a fabulous member and supporting our chapters. And
Love
tell all of our wonderful women and the few good men that we have in Texas that I said hello when you go out there to do your program.
Yeah, well, we're talking about trying to have you come out with.
Oh, okay. Well, I haven't heard that
a
yet, but
big
we'll
thing.
be in touch with that. I'm glad.
Breaking news.
I'm breaking news here at WOAMTEC Live. Well, thank you again so much for being here. I hope you found and took to heart some of the things that he said, because it's true. You know, the more healthy or the more complete you are, all the work I've done with children aging out of foster care and in the child welfare system, I know that when there's a hole in those children, they continue to repeat the cycle of victimization. And, you know, that's because their hole is not complete. Their cup is not filled. There's a kink in their hose. And, you know, one of the main things that we want to do here at WOAMTEC is, with the WOAMTEC Foundation, is to help women and children who have been abused, neglected, or abandoned through no fault of their own become empowered with the courage to dream. And I am so excited to tell you that WOAMTEC Foundation is official. We filed our 501c3 paperwork. We are creating the first 300 Courage to Dream kits that we want to distribute to foster children who are aging out of foster care. The kits are going to be geared towards kids between the ages of 15 and 25. We're going to start with foster kids, and then we're going to move on to abused women's shelter and anybody else that just needs to get the kinks out of their hose. Now, how can you help, and why am I sharing this with you? Well, we are looking for 3 other t-shirt sponsors that will put their logos on the back of a t-shirt, on 300 t-shirts for $250. It's a donation to the nonprofit, so it's a tax-deductible donation. One of the things that these children will receive is they're going to receive a backpack, and inside the backpack they're going to have a t-shirt, a pen, and a Courage to Dream journal. The Courage to Dream journal is a self-reflective Courage to Dream process where we've taken 40 things, and it could be from hope to courage to confidence to breaking the cycle of victimization and the steps that are required to make that happen. Each day in this 40-day journal, they'll read a segment, they'll read a story about somebody else who has overcome that obstacle, and then they'll journal their thoughts and their goals and their desires. When they complete the journal, then they will graduate from the Courage to Dream program, and they will have access to online software that will give them access to ask questions to mentorships, to ask questions or to reach out for help. It will give them access to you, the WOAMTEC members, who can advertise and offer these children 10% off on an ice cream purchase, or $5 off a car decal, whatever it is, you know, that you want to offer to help these kids break the cycle of victimization and break the pattern and become strong, confident, amazing human beings, because they are the children of our future, which is really important. So the first thing I'm looking for is 3 more t-shirt sponsors that will donate $250 to go put your logo on the back of 300 t-shirts, or 1 t-shirt sponsor that will pay $250 times 3 and help us make that happen. The other thing that I'm looking for is, if you are a member who is out there that has any experience working with anybody who has been abused, neglected, or abandoned, or if you yourself have gone through a situation that you've had to find the courage to dream, I want to hear your stories. Now, they can be anonymous. I have a list of questions that I can send you, because I'm looking to fill stories that other people will be able to read, and when they read, they'll be able to say, I felt that way, I can relate to that, and I can connect, so they can find the strength to dig themselves up and to lift themselves higher and to become the person that we know that they can be. Now, before we meet our next guest, I want to take a break for just a moment. So for those of you that are watching that don't know what WOAMTEC's all about, you know, what is this Women on a Mission to Earn Commission? Well, it is about the greater commissions in life, helping other people, doing one to others, paying back, and building your community. But take a moment and you can see a little bit more. so it's about so much more than networking. It's about creating strategic alliances, connecting with others, and just really strengthening and building your business across America. Speaking of across America, I want to take just one real quick moment and give a congratulations and a shout out to Coach Kat from Lawrenceville, Georgia, Johns Creek, Swanee area of Georgia. I apologize about that, Kat. And I want to say congratulations, because Roy had given away 2 books for those of you that were on the live broadcast feed. One was for the first person who logged in, and the other one was for the furthest away. So Coach Kat is the first person, and Maggie with South Seminole. Is that who you said, Tanya?
Other way around.
Okay, other way around. So Maggie with South Seminole won first, Coach Kat won second, but either way, you guys are both winners, and you're going to win Roy's book. So we'll make sure that you connect with him so you can either continue growing the intimacy in your life or pass it on to somebody else who can be empowered by his words of wisdom. So thank you for tuning in online. And I do want to say, Maggie, I'm going to give you a shout out, girlfriend, because you are a superstar who has really come in and seized the opportunity to take advantage of WOAMTEC and make the most of your membership. You waited 5 long years to bring to be able to join, because you were blocked in the real estate category, to be able to join WOAMTEC. And I am just so blessed to have you a member, and I am so proud that you are not just looking at WOAMTEC as the 4 walls of a networking meeting, but you are truly engaging with everything that we are working hard to offer you. So congratulations, you won for being a stellar member today. And Kat, you're doing an incredible job in Georgia running your chapter. So thank you, thank you, thank you. Okay, now I'd like to introduce a fabulous lady who's going to help us learn to love our beauty and to understand how important it is to love your beauty and love your skin. So please welcome to the stage Rhonda McDaniel. Hello, hello. Thank you so much for being here.
Hello.
Hello. She's all the way from Brandon, Florida. Brandon's my hometown. That's where
Really?
I graduated from high school. That's where I grew up. So welcome, and thank you for making the trip over here today.
Thank you.
Can you tell everybody a little bit about who you are and what you do?
I'm Rhonda McDaniel. I own a Caring Touch Skin Therapy, and what I do is help people take care of their skin. I love to take care of women and men, helping them to educate about their skin. And I became an esthetician because my sister had acne, and she suffered for many years with it. So that kind of was one of my main points of becoming an esthetician.
Okay, well, I want to back that up just a little bit. And I met somebody the other day, in her 40s, never has had a facial her entire life, and was complaining about her skin. And I think that so many people don't even understand the importance of an esthetician or what an esthetician is. So can you share with us, like, what is an esthetician? What do you do?
An esthetician, we are licensed by the state to analyze and take care of your skin. What we do is educate you. We are able to analyze it, recommend products, clear out your pores. We do microdermabrasion, we do chemical peels. Those are the things that we do to kind of help you prolong your skin.
Okay, so I'm a working mom, juggling housework, kids, shopping, laundry, work, grocery shopping, everything that we have to do, bill paying. I don't have time to stop and take care of my skin. I'll wash my face at night. I'll throw a little bit of cleanser on my face and put some moisturizer on my face. Why do we need to take the time to stop and allow you to pamper us?
We need to take the time because as we get older, our skin starts to slow down. The skin cells turn over slower, so we need to trigger those, regenerate our skin cells. And being that mom, you need to take care of yourself, because if you don't take care of yourself, you can't take care of others.
Okay, absolutely. I think that's really important. And having suffered from rosacea and several other skin problems, I know that there are a lot of different things that you can do. What do you do when working with your clients?
First, I analyze their skin, and then we talk about what they need to do. We talk about how they need to take care of their skin, some little things they can do, like washing their face. Basic thing, never go to bed with your makeup on. That's the key thing. A lot of women don't think they can, I'm so tired, I'm just going to go to bed. Well, that clogs your pores. If you just wash your face, that will help unclog some of those pores. Secondly, wearing sunscreen. Main thing. A lot of people don't wear it because they don't like the way it feels, they don't like the way they smell. Wearing sunscreen can help you with your skin as well.
That's awesome, and I'm hoping that you have some Brandon and Tampa supporters that are out there. So if there's anybody that's watching and listening from the Tampa Bay area, I know that you do have a skincare product line, but you also do work with other people. Like, you can be in alliance with a Mary Kay rep or an Arbonne rep or a Rodan and Fields rep, because you can help them identify their problems medically, and then you can give them suggestions on what they need to continue the maintenance maintenance portion of their skincare. But you did bring some products today.
Yes, I did.
And you're going to give them away to the first person that lets us know, lets our webmaster, C. Rivas, know that you are from the Tampa Bay area. So log in and tell us if you're watching there from Tampa Bay and if you're supporting your Valrico chapter member.
Yes.
But tell us a little bit, how often do you think people need to come in? Men too, men and women, how often do they need a facial?
A facial should be done a minimum of 4 to 6 weeks. So that lets you, clean out the pores. Sometimes we don't take care of our skin, and also identify problems that can be happening. If you have a skin problem, I've had people that have skin cancer on their face, and we can identify that and get them to a dermatologist so they can get that taken care of as soon as possible. Because as we get older, things happen.
Okay, can you share with us any tips or pointers that you would recommend or that you often deal with clients?
Problem is picking the skin. If you have a pimple or a blackhead, try not to pick it, because if you pick it and the skin is not ready, you can damage the skin underneath, which can cause scarring. Then you have a whole nother animal that we've opened up.
Right, absolutely.
So try not to do that. If you have rosacea, some things you need to watch out for. If you drink alcohol, if you drink tea, eat spicy food, these are things that trigger your rosacea.
And I was totally just busted because this is tea in my glass right now. Well, I switched from Diet Coke to tea, and I didn't know that was a problem.
Yeah,
that's interesting.
Yes, that triggers, and I have people to keep diaries of what happened. Stress can trigger rosacea. Okay. Stress can trigger acne. Acne can be hereditary. A lot of people don't know that. Dairy products can increase acne. So, and that's not the dairy products itself, it's the hormones that are in the products that trigger the acne.
Okay. So, as an esthetician, when should we start bringing our kids into the picture? Like, when do we really need to get our children, our daughters, on a good skincare regimen?
I started my children at 11 years old. So all of them were using basic skincare, washing their face, getting used to using cleansers and wearing a sunscreen. And then as they get older, you change with the hormones, because with hormones, if they're playing sports, they're not washing their face, and guys are typically for not wanting to wash their face. Mm-hmm. So.
Absolutely. And how often do you really get men coming in to get facials?
I have 10% of my business is men.
Really?
Because if you're facing in front of the camera, if you're in front of, people, you need to have your face done. They suffer from blackheads, large pores. I have clients that have rosacea, and I've helped calm that down. You can keep it calm if you have a facial. So guys, come in, don't be afraid.
That's awesome. And if you could look in the camera and just tell them one of the things that you love the most about what you do, and about your position, and any other tips or suggestions you might want to share with them.
What I love is when I have that teenager that has acne and their self-esteem is so low, and I help them to overcome their acne, teach them how to clean their skin, and they go to the prom. I had a young lady that had suffered from acne, and she wore her hair back in a ponytail and pulled at her eyebrows. She just felt like she was not very attractive. We helped her calm her acne, and she went off to college with beautiful skin, and her father told me he didn't know what to do, whether to hate me or praise me, because he had a teenager. She was a normal teenager again. So that to me was a joy.
That is so awesome to hear, and that just gave me goosebumps, because when you talk about fixing the kinks and the holes and the flaws in yourself so you feel better, you are exactly right. If there's an imperfection in your skin or something you don't feel comfortable with, that is something that you need to realize that is affecting the person that you are and the person that God intends you to be, and it's affecting your self-esteem and your self-confidence. So
right.
Thank you for sharing that story. Thank you for being here with us today, and thank you for supporting WOAMTEC Valrico, and know that our doors are open for you. If there's anything we can do for anybody in the Valrico, Tampa Bay area, we want to continue to see that area grow and blossom, and continue to help you with your business.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for being here. I appreciate it today. As we continue talking about falling in love with yourself, falling in love with your business, I think that it's really important to just take a moment and stop and reflect upon, what are we trying to accomplish in 2013? What are we working to accomplish? What are we working to do? And how can we continue to grow and continue to help you? In just a few seconds, you're going to meet an amazing man that works with people who fall in love with America all the time. And I want to make sure that you get to hear Mr. Rosen personally, and get to know a little bit more about him. and in his business, because he's a delightful member of Georgia, from one of our chapters in Georgia, and he's going to share some stellar information with us today. But before we introduce Mr. Rosen, I want to just kind of remind you of a few great things that we need to focus on for 2013. And the first thing is, we've got to take a look at what you're doing in your business and how you can utilize WOAMTEC to strengthen your business even more. As I mentioned before, don't just look at the four walls of the chapter that you're networking in. Truly take a look at how can you think bigger? How can you do what Roy's doing and fly to Texas to meet hundreds of new people? How can you think a little bit bigger and take a moment and develop relationships via social media, via the WOAMTEC directory, with people in Scottsdale, people in Maryland, people in Wisconsin, anywhere throughout the United States? You know, who do you know that might need to be blessed a little bit by surrounding themselves with positive, professional, like-minded human beings who would come together and be excited about being paid to network and grow their business? Because we're hiring new directors every day. We're launching in new cities every day. And we meet our best people from our best people. So let us know if you're somebody or you know of somebody that might be able to keep our vision alive as we work together to rebuild America. And as I mentioned, rebuilding America is falling in love with America. You know, lots of things are happening right now. We've got changes with the president. We've got changes with the world and the laws and the rules everywhere. So I've asked this gentleman to be here. He's an attorney from one of our Georgia chapters. I've asked Mr. Rosen to be here today just to share with us a little bit about what he does and what you might not be aware of that may be able to help you or the ones that you love. So, Joseph, are you there?
Yes. Hi, Kathleen. Good afternoon.
Hi. Thank you so much for joining us today. Tell everybody that's watching today or that will watch in the future, a little bit about who you are and what you do.
Well, again, my name is Joe Rosen, and I'm an immigration attorney. I have an immigration practice that serves clients nationwide and throughout the world. I concentrate in a few specific areas. I represent a number of professional athletes. Tends to be kids that come to the United States on tennis scholarships, golf scholarships, soccer scholarships, and then they'll get hired by local clubs to represent them. And what I'll do is I'll do the immigration work for the clubs so they allow them to hire them. About a fourth of my practice are business immigration, where if school districts want to hire school teachers, dental clinics may want to hire dentists, computer companies may want to hire engineers or IT people, I work for the company to make sure that the folks' immigration work is done appropriately so that they're hired in accordance with the law. Also, about half my practice is based on family immigration, and which really tends to be a fun area. I mean, that tends to be U.S. citizens that are marrying foreign nationals, U.S. citizens that may be adopting foreign national children, and U.S. citizens that have come here, gone to school, gotten a green card, become citizens, and they're bringing their parents in. I also, to a small degree, I work with Catholic Charities running an immigration clinic, and I get involved with some refugee and asylum cases.
Well, thank you so much for sharing that. You're an amazing, amazing human being, and I'm so glad to have you on the show today. And you know, some people may be watching and they may think, I don't know anybody that has anything to do with immigration. They may be watching, they may be thinking, you know, he's in Georgia and I'm in Arizona. How can I help you? Can you practice anywhere across America?
Yeah, the practice tends to be a nationwide practice, similar to a IRS type practice. All the applications, for example, for certain categories are all filed at one or two locations in the United States. And again, I tend to have clients also not just in the U.S., but around the world.
That is wonderful. Well, share with us some tips for somebody that may be watching, that may either have a loved one that, or may meet somebody. They fall in love with somebody that's, you know, visiting on vacation or something. What are some of the rules or misleading thoughts that some people might have in regards to immigration law in the U.S.?
Well, and there tend to be a lot of misconceptions about that. A lot of folks will simply say, well, if you marry a United States citizen, don't you automatically become a U.S. citizen? And it's really much more complicated than that. It's kind of a government maze. I'll have folks contact me and they'll say that they tried to do it themselves. They're 2 years down the road and they find out it was initially done wrong and they're going to be separated from their loved one even longer. The process involves a number of separate issues. Do you bring in somebody as a fiance? Do you bring in somebody by marrying them overseas? Do they come in as a tourist and then do you marry them? You may have, frequently there'll be folks that will come in and they've come in initially on a visa as a student, as an employee, and something goes wrong, they overstay their visa, and then there's a matter of, well, how do I legalize them? And in some cases, they can marry a citizen and get a green card. Others, they can't. Another issue that I've run into that I've worked with a number of folks with is you're here in the United States, you're dating a student, you're a student, maybe you're a 22, 23-year-old kid, you've fallen in love with a girl from France, she's in college with you, and you decide you're going to go to the Bahamas for a destination wedding. You fly to the Bahamas, you get married, you come back in, immigration says, well, what are you returning from? Well, we got married in the Bahamas. Well, you're coming in as a student. Well, yeah. Are you going to apply for a green card once you get here? Of course, we just got married. Well, we're not going to let you in as a student then. You have to go back and wait in your country for a year to have your husband petition for you. So frequently what I'll advise them is just when you enter the country, you can't enter with the intention of filing for a green card. And if you're trying to enter as a student or as a tourist with that intention, it can really create a lot of roadblocks for you. That's just one of the many intricate situations that you have to deal with when trying to legalize your bride or your fiance.
What type of, I know some changes are underway with the Obama administration. How is that affecting immigration law these days?
Well, right now the system is a patchwork of laws that have been passed over the last 15, 20 years. And one of the biggest problems tends to be the incredible backlog created by the small number of visas. For example, if Kathleen, if you were originally from, say, Egypt, and you became a U.S. citizen, and you wanted to bring over your brother, who is in possibly a bad political situation in Egypt, if you filed for your brother and you're a U.S. citizen, it's a 12 to 20-year wait for that brother to come into the United States. Or here in Atlanta, Georgia Tech puts out a large number of folks with graduate degrees from India, from China. Somebody graduates, say, from Georgia Tech, #1 in the class, and a company wants to hire them here, an engineering company, an IT company. It's a 7-year wait for that person to be able to get a green card. And then you have to figure out, well, what do you do in those 7 years? Well, one of the things the Obama administration is talking about doing is really streamlining the employment immigration area so that if companies want to hire folks, they've tried to find U.S. workers and can't, that it'll really streamline the situation. We have about 300,000 foreign students in the United States at any given time, yet we only give out 50,000 visas per year to individuals with college degrees. So we're educating 240,000 people a year that we can't provide visas for, and that then go overseas and compete against us.
Wow, I had no idea. That's amazing. And you're right. Here we are educating them to become our competition. And that just seems crazy, but so true. And you're talking about numbers that are so large. I can see how it could become a problem. And I can see how we are definitely in need of people like you. Now, adoption is very near and dear to my heart. And I know that from an adoption perspective, so much focus is put on the Brad and Angelina stories of the world, going overseas and rescuing a child from a different country. What are some of the things, if there's a member that's out there that's considering adopting someone from a different country, what are some of the things that you might want to share with them that they just might want to ponder a little bit or talk to you about, further that you have found are challenges when adopting overseas?
In terms of adopting overseas, it's such an intricate dance that if you make even one misstep, you can really jeopardize the situation of your child. And folks going into international adoption situations are just extremely good-hearted. I mean, they're trying to bring a child from a bad situation into the land of opportunity, and if they make one innocent mistake, they can completely jeopardize their green card for the child. There are a small number of attorneys that really specialize in international adoptions, and I really recommend anytime you're considering it, you want to make sure that you're with them. I had a case that I referred to a friend of mine who does those adoptions, and a couple had come in and they had adopted a child in Russia a number of years ago, and they never did what's called a domestication of a foreign adoption. So they had not adopted the child here in the United States. Well, the Russian authorities went in and they reversed the adoption. And by reversing the adoption, the child no longer was legally adopted, and Russia actually was making efforts to have the child returned to Russia. And again, there was no valid adoption here in the U.S. It really became a very difficult situation.
What type of cases do you find yourself most frequently involved in? Like, is there anything, area specialty that you spend most of your time working with people and helping people?
With immigration, it tends to be family immigration. and it tends to be folks that really have married somebody, have a parent that they want to bring over, or a brother or a sister that they want to bring over from a bad situation, and it just becomes very difficult to get them to understand the complexity of the application process, how long it's going to take. I mean, you just have to keep in mind when you're deeply in love with somebody, be it your parent, your spouse, and you're told that you have to wait a year to bring them over. Frequently, you don't accept that, and you try and do it in another way that can get them banned permanently from coming to the United States.
Wow, and I know we talked before about minors with maybe criminal charges against them. How is that something that can really affect whether or not they can stay in the United States or they can live here permanently?
Yeah, there are a lot of misconceptions among the non-immigration legal community about what happens with a criminal conviction. A lot of folks think that, well, if you simply are sentenced to less than a year in jail, it's no problem. Or we'll have somebody 19 years old, they stole a sign as a fraternity prank, and they'll just plead guilty real quickly, first offender status, and then it's wiped off their record. Well, what many of these folks don't realize is it's wiped off the record in terms of how the state views it, but in terms of federal immigration, it's still considered a conviction, and it can get them deported. I've had a number of clients that have applied for citizenship on their own. They indicated they were never arrested because they have documents from the state saying their criminal record has been wiped clean. And then when they get to citizenship situations, not only do they find citizenship is being denied, but they're being put into deportation proceedings.
Wow. Is there any other advice or suggestions that you feel is important to share with our members that may have loved ones overseas or may fall in love with somebody while they're at college or while they're here visiting the sunny Florida?
Well, I think the best advice is to make sure that you do it correctly, make sure that you don't try and cut corners. I frequently tell my clients that immigration is funny. Frequently you can commit a major crime and you can end up coming to the United States and staying anyway. But if immigration feels you've lied about absolutely anything, it can bar you from the United States for life. For example, I had a client come in just this afternoon, and he came in, he got his green card a year ago through marriage to a U.S. citizen. He came in a couple weeks ago through the Atlanta airport, and they started asking him, well, when you came in 2 years ago and then you got married three months later, when you came in as a tourist, did you come in intending to marry your wife and stay here? And luckily he said no. He said, I came here, we had dated before, and we didn't decide to get married until after I came. Had he answered that differently, he would have been put into deportation proceedings. So whenever you're dealing with immigration, you have to recognize it's not the kind of thing you want to do on your own. There are serious pitfalls to mistakes and errors that you can make, and you may as well get professional advice on it. It just makes life so much easier for you.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much for sharing. And one last question I have before we end the segment today, but can you share with us one of the most, I know you can't reveal names or stories or anything like that, but can you share with us one of the most difficult cases that you've ever been affected with or help, or challenging cases that you've ever experienced?
It was a little bit out of my area. Again, I tend to have a business and a family-based immigration, but I had a client come in about a year ago, and they had a young 21-year-old Chinese boy with them who was severely mentally and physically disabled. He'd been educated in China. His entire education was spent drugged by the school system, in a diaper, soiling himself, couldn't count, couldn't spell, had no skills. His parents sent him to the United States. They were very wealthy industrialists, and they sent him here with the hope that he could get enrolled in school, that he could get some kind of a medical visa. The family that was caretaking him brought him to me to find out about that within a month of when he had come. And what I really explored with them was what had happened to him in China really amounted to persecution based on the fact that he was severely physically and mentally disabled. Myself and a couple of interns from the law school I teach at were able to work on the case, and we were really able to build a case showing that he had in fact been deprived of so many basic human rights in China that it really amounted to Chinese government persecution based on, or at least tolerance of persecution, and he was allowed to stay here. Just as an example of the changes in him, he came into the office at one point, was talking to the two interns, and he was very proud, and he said it in Chinese, to ask to count. After an entire formal education until age 21 in China, he couldn't count to 10 in Chinese, couldn't name the days of the week. after only 6 months in the United States in the school that his parents were paying for, he was able to count to 10 and name the days of the week. And luckily, by having asylum granted for him, he'll be able to live a life here of relative freedom and independence versus really just a life of persecution in China. It was just a really rewarding case to have worked on.
I think that's awesome, and you know, it really shows your spirit of integrity and your heart, and I think that's amazing because you are helping people fall in love with America by making a difference in their lives, and I think that's so important. And that's part of why I wanted you on the show today, and that's part of why I wanted all of our wonderful members to meet Mr. Rosen, because you know, there are people that are out there that can help, and it can begin with you. It can begin with you just helping educate other people on their options. So if you know of somebody that is struggling with somebody that has a family member out of seas, if they're struggling with a situation that they don't know where to go and they don't know what to do, just know that there is a wealth of members and a wealth of knowledge within our membership that you can connect with those people. You can call our corporate office anytime, and I can help you connect with those people, because just like Mr. Rosen helped a young man from China, I'm sure he's helped dozens and dozens more, and he can help someone that you know and you love too. So thank you so much, everybody, for being here again today. Next month on WOAMTEC Live is going to be a phenomenal show as well. We have 3 new amazing guests that are just going to share so much more information. If you or somebody you know may be interested in sharing a little bit about your life, a little bit about your business, a little bit about your passion with our members and our YouTube followers across America, I would love to hear from you too. So please reach out and give me a call. Know that I appreciate you. We appreciate you. Everybody here at WOAMTEC Corporate wants you to have the best ever Valentine's Day, because we love you too. Thanks, and God bless.